later. The next day, many months later. Day 3, 2 hours later. Day 4, 12 o'clock midnight. 2,000 years later. Tomorrow. A few moments later. 3 days later. End of flashback. 7 hours later. The next morning. Several days later. 1 hour later. 24 hours later. The following day. The next morning. Early the next morning. The next day. The next day. The next morning. The next morning. Meanwhile, at the Krusty Krab. Meanwhile, back in the lowlands, 2 hours later, 2 hours later, 6 hours later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, 5 hours later, 8 hours later, moments later, 7 hours later, 24 hours later, 48 hours later, 72 hours later, approximately 10 hours later, 6 months later, 1 long angry line later, many tic-tacs later, thousands of tears later, 3 days later, 2 hours later, 3 hours later,